We're back in part 2 of our 2-part mini-series on the history of Panerai. If you haven't yet seen part 1, click the link in the description below to watch it first. In this conclusion to the legacy of Panerai, we're picking up the story in the later half of the 20th century, after the decline of Panerai as a prominent watchmaker. We'll discuss their comeback, their coming out onto the world stage, and their technological advancements in the 21st century. After more than a century making exacting tools and watches for military clients, and 20 plus years taking their time to streamline their operation, Panerai reawakens in 1993 with the launch of 3 new models for the general public, each inspired by their mid-century golden age: the Luminor, the Luminor Marina, and the Mare Nostrum chronograph. A ceremony was held on the deck of the Italian Navy cruiser Duran de la Penne to mark the occasion, which was attended by Duke Amadeo d'Aosta, a member of the Italian royal family who was born in Florence, like Panerai. Panerai had hoped this fanfare would ignite interest from the watch-buying public, but having been essentially shuttered for 20 years, and never in its 133-year history sold a watch in the greater retail market, the wristwatch relaunch was met with little interest from the watch-buying public. However, like Rolex's Daytona watch in the 1960s, Panerai would get an unlikely marketing boost from a well-known Hollywood actor. Sylvester Stallone, a huge international star in action movies, purchased and wore a new Luminor, reference 5218-201A, on his wrist in the 1996 film Daylight.
Oh God, we got fatalities down here! You've got no authority to come in here. But we did a simulation, they'll all be dead before you get to...
Sly Stallone insisted that his character wear it throughout the film. He loved the watch so much that he commissioned a custom batch of Luminors with the words Daylight and Slytech on the dial. Some of these watches he gifted to his famous friends, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who also wore the watch in his film Eraser. Over the next few years, Panerai watches will be seen in several other action movies. Due to this priceless free exposure, Panerai sales finally jumped. By 1997, sales of Panerai watches caught the attention of the luxury goods holding company Vendôme, who then purchased Officine Panerai, marking the end of family ownership for the 137-year-old watchmaker. Vendôme took Panerai international, and with the aid of Vendôme's massive resources, sales rose ever higher. The 4 years between Panerai's re-emergence and Vendôme's acquisition are known as the pre-Vendôme era. The pre-Vendôme watches made during that time are rare collector's items, not only because it was the final years of Panerai family ownership, but because there were a very limited number of watches produced. In 1998, an even larger holdings company, Richemont Group, bought Vendôme and the Panerai brand with it. Richemont then cranked up production of watches by 3,400%. The new millennium brought rising sales thanks to the muscle of the Richemont Group and also a lively community of watch enthusiast forums on the increasingly powerful World Wide Web. In 2001, the original Orologeria Svizzera shop that Giovanni Panerai opened in Florence, Italy a century earlier is fully restored and reopened as a functioning boutique and historical destination. And a year later, Officine Panerai's first international office and plant is opened in Switzerland, a hub for research and development. Also, their first boutique in Asia is opened in the bustling city-state of Hong Kong. Starting in 2005, Panerai's movements were no longer made by third parties like Rolex or Angelus, as in decades past, but made in-house by Panerai. The first of these is the P2002, named after the year their first Swiss operation opened its doors. The P2002 is hand-wound with GMT functionality and an 8-day power reserve. After that came the P2003, the P2004, and so on. The P2005 contains their first tourbillon, a rotating cage first created over 200 years ago, containing the escapement and balance wheel. This cage combats the forces of friction and gravity on the watch, thus increasing its longevity and accuracy. Panerai improved on this design by turning the tourbillon on its side, causing it to rotate on a perpendicular axis to the balance wheel axis, as opposed to the traditional parallel axis. The modern Panerai tourbillon rotates every 30 seconds, twice as fast and more accurately than a standard tourbillon. Continuing their pattern of resurrecting former models, the Egiziano, first made for the Egyptian Navy in 1956, is updated and re-released in 2009. And again drawing inspiration from the past, 3 totally new special edition watches are released to commemorate famous Italian scientist Galileo Galilei and his first astronomical discoveries. the L'Astronomo, the Lo Scienziato, and the Jupiterium clock in 2010. A fully bronze version of the Luminor is offered in 2011, and the Radiomir 1940 is launched in 2012. This Radiomir 1940 is so named because it's a near identical remake of the classic, down to the plexiglass crystal, but fortunately not containing any radioactive radium. A very special edition of the Radiomir 1940 is introduced in 2016. The Radiomir 1940 Minute Repeater Carillon Tourbillon is technically the most complicated watch ever produced by Panerai. It features a tourbillon regulator and a chiming mechanism that can chime one of 2 time zones every hour, every 10 minutes, or every single minute. It is their latest in a long line of sophisticated elite watches. Officine Panerai continues to grow and innovate well into the 21st century, more than 150 years since their humble inception by Giovanni Panerai on the streets of Florence, Italy. This watchmaker has survived decade after decade of experimentation, world war, and economic downturns, so Panerai should have no problem flourishing for many more decades to come. Thank you so much for watching this 2-part mini-series made by us here at Everest. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and continue watching our other videos. We get to keep making them if you keep watching them, and we're always taking suggestions on new videos from you guys. If you're interested in the straps and accessories seen in this video, you can find them for your Panerai, as well as many other models, on our website, everestbands.com. Thank you again, and see you next time.